This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. See the look that's in their eyes, wonder what they see in mine. Fill me up with feelings I can't get them out of my mind. All I am is what's inside. What it is isn't hard to define. Wondering what it feels like to be somebody I'm not. Something tells me you were all like me. Something tells me we are the same. Know the voices telling me this will only ever exist in my brain. This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. 25 years I've been hearing with the same ears, seeing with the same eyes, thinking with the same mind. Who am I to decide what being you has been like? Try to empathize, but my mind is too inside me. I might think I understand, I'm the same a friend that gets you, but as much as we connect, I gotta ask myself, is it true? Years keep turning, and 25 years still we're hearing with the same eyes and ears. Surprised till we die, I'm thinking, man, I surmised that we used to be in court, but when we were born with a sentence. To life inside, to life inside, to life inside, to life inside. This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. This body is a prison for my mind, and my mind is a prison for whatever's inside. Thank you very much, you guys. Excited to see what y'all talk about. Good to be here. See you in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bryce. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure.
All right, so we do this every week. We want to get an idea of who is new to the rally. Who's here for the first time? Nice. Welcome. Who's been here every time? Woo! Excellent. What different groups do we have here besides Seattle Indivisible? Bainbridge is in the house. Lake Tops, Whidbey Island, which is my hometown. Langley, nice, in the house. What else? Say that again. Vashon, Snohomish, Edmonds, and North Seattle. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for coming and making the trek into the city. We appreciate it. So we're going to get started, and as we do, Kyle's going to pass around a chant. He'll just give you some slips of paper that you can pass on. Hold on to it, and about mid-rally, we will jump into that. So today's agenda, we're going to cover a few different topics. One, we're going to cover the impact to our Constitution of the actions of the Trump administration. We're also going to talk about Trump's ties to Russia, his business in China, and of course, as we're all marching toward tax day a week from now, his taxes. At the end, we're going to listen to some more music and then do some announcements. So a couple of you come up to me wanting to do announcements at the end. If there's anybody else, just let me know as the rally goes on. And then we'll go into the federal building to meet with the senator's staff. So for those of you who were here last week or watched it online, I alluded to the fact that the rallies would never end. And I just got a little overexcited, I think. So just a reminder that Indivisible is a nationwide organization, and MoveOn.org made a commitment to rallies every Tuesday against the Trump agenda for the first 100 days of his administration. So the last Tuesday of April brings us to that commitment. So one of the things I want you to look out for is when you sign in on the sign-in sheets that Steve has here, so if you haven't signed in, be sure to sign in during the rally. I'm going to send out a survey to ask for your feedback on how often we should have rallies in the future. So it won't be every Tuesday moving forward, but would you like to be here once a month and keep the conversation going and put pressure on our members of Congress to consider representing your voice? So just look out for that so you can add that feedback. And then at the end, too, we'll also talk about what's happening at next Tuesday rallies, because it's a little bit different than what we've done before. So before we get started with our first speaker, I think we have a few things we need to celebrate this week. Obamacare is still in place. Next on Trump's list was tax reform, and sort of similar to healthcare, I think he's figuring out it's a little more complicated than he thought. Who knew? Yesterday, I feel really strongly about this one, a federal judge ruled that Texas, their extremely restrictive voter ID law, was indeed discriminatory. Right? Take that, Jeff Sessions, take that. Devin Noonan has removed himself from the House Intelligence Committee investigating Trump. This is a good one. Steve Bannon is off the National Security Council. And we have 8 Republican seats open across the U.S. right now, thanks to Trump's appointments. So we need to fight to turn those seats blue. Today there's a special election happening in Kansas. Next week is Georgia. Yeah, a couple things we can do. There are phone banks going on, so if you want to participate in one and you haven't heard about it to support these special elections, see me and we'll get you connected. In Montana, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to celebrate of what your voices are doing. So thank you for being out here, and thank you for all the work that you do away from this rally. So with that, we're going to have our first speaker come up, who's Tom McClory. Tom, as a lawyer, has a perspective on what Trump and the Republican administration are doing to our Constitution, and he's going to speak about it today. Thank you, Tom.
Mostly ex-lawyers, so that's good. Something you just said reminded me on Nunez on the Intelligence Committee, oxymoron. What I'm going to do is bore you this morning. I'm going to give you more of a law lecture than a get up and do something rally. We all know Trump to be a liar, a hypocrite, a sexual predator, intellectually and physically lazy, a coward. He avoided the draft. In the last week or two, he's avoided going to the opening day of baseball because he's afraid of getting booed. He's the first coward president to avoid going to the press dinner because he's afraid of ridicule. But probably what defines him most is his total greed. And that greed is what I'm going to talk about today because it presents his clearest violation of the Constitution. Yes, he has tried to squelch freedom of religion by a ban on Muslims. He's attempted to squelch freedom of the press by ridiculing the press, by pushing for easier libel laws. But the clearest violations right now are the emolument clauses, and it's plural. We have a foreign emoluments clause. Basically, the drafters of the United States Constitution, our founders, put a provision in to prevent our elected officials and office holders from taking money from foreign governments. Trump has violated this right and left. We don't even know how extensive the violations are because, as we'll all be here on the 15th, he hasn't released his taxes. We don't know what monies he's receiving from Russian government or Russian-controlled entities. But there is a ban in the Constitution on an elected officer or any federal office holder holding or receiving monies from foreign governments. And we know he's doing that in the Trump Tower, in the hotel in Washington, where he's hosting foreign events, where foreign officials are staying. Just within the last few days, the ambassador from the country of Georgia tweeted out about how wonderful his stay was there. That is unconstitutional. It can be permitted with approval of Congress. Congress has not approved it. Even his patron saint of presidents, the bigoted, racist, egotistical Andrew Jackson, knew about this law, and he went to Congress to seek approval to receive a gold medal from a foreign nation. By the way, they turned him down. Lesser known, there is a domestic emoluments clause. The president's limited to receiving his salary from the federal government. Yet here he is, booking federal officials into Mar-a-Lago, booking federal officials into his hotel in Washington, trying to rent out room space in Trump Tower in Washington, D.C. to the Department of Defense, which he controls, attempting through his presidency to rent space at Mar-a-Lago and at the Trump Tower to Secret Service. He wants the federal government to give him a profit on protection of him. In my view, as a self-proclaimed billionaire, he ought to be paying for his own protection. I think the city of New York should refuse to spend a nickel to protect this billionaire. I think in Florida they should refuse to pay a nickel to protect that billionaire.
That's right.
The domestic provision, unlike the federal provision, the foreign emoluments provision, emolument is any title, any money, any financial gain, does not allow Congress to okay it. This one Congress can't do. He is violating the U.S. Constitution on a daily basis. Now people say, if this were a Democrat, the Republicans would be all over it. They'd be screaming and yelling. And I say to you, why aren't the Democratic Congress people and senators screaming on a daily basis about this? Why aren't they demanding an investigation of his unconstitutional acts? Why aren't they demanding an investigation on his emoluments violations? Now, what is the legal remedy for the emoluments violation? Number one, and this was discussed at the ratification of the U.S. Constitution centuries ago, the number one remedy is impeachment. Now, don't go in later to our senators and say, introduce an impeachment bill. The Senate can't do it. It's got to start in the House. So don't bother them with this one, but call your congressperson and say, why haven't you introduced an impeachment bill? Why haven't you at least got together and demanded an investigation to see if there are grounds for impeachment? And there are. Will the Republicans do anything about it? The Republicans who have voted party line on everything, who have put in liars, cheats, and thieves, liars like Jeff Sessions on a purely partisan vote. Thieves like Neil Gorsuch, the plagiarist who has stolen a Supreme Court seat. They're not going to do anything without public pressure. Second, lawsuits. There are actually 2 lawsuits pending, at least right now, on the emoluments violations. One has questions of standing. It's brought by a group of ethicist oversight people, and whether that's going to go anywhere, I'm not enough of an expert to say, but I know there are serious doubts. There's a second suit by a competitive restaurant in D.C. saying they're stealing our customers away by his emoluments violations. That one actually has a better chance, but what kind of relief they'll get is more limited. Now here's one that I kind of like, and it's really going to be more of a shining the light on the problem. Little history lesson, I told you to get boring. In 1810, Congress overwhelmingly sent to the states a proposed amendment. It was going to be Amendment 13. 11 states ratified it. It needed 2 more. It's basically the companion piece to the emoluments clauses. And it says anyone in federal office who takes money from a foreign government is stripped of citizenship in the United States and is stripped of any right to hold public office. Now, we've added a few states since 1810. It failed by 2 then. It now needs 26 states to approve it. But I think if any state legislator introduced that bill, that would shine national spotlight on this problem. It would force the Republicans, if they're going to vote against it, to vote in favor of financial conflicts of interest. And I think that in some state, and I think it should start in Washington, our state legislators should introduce a bill to adopt the original 13th Amendment, the Nobility Amendment, to the U.S. Constitution to strip any president or other federal official who receives monies from foreign governments from citizenship and public office. And just putting that out there is going to focus the spotlight of public opinion on this blatant conflict and blatant violation of the U.S. Constitution. So contact your state legislature and say, put a bill in to pass the Nobility Clause, the Nobility Amendment, the original 13th Amendment. In the meantime, keep coming to these rallies, keep leaning on your legislators to do their jobs, Republicans and Democrats, particularly for Republican congresspeople, to start an investigation and an impeachment process for this constitutional violation that is ongoing. So thank you. Resist.
Thank you so much, Tom. Tom and Tony have been coming to these rallies from the start and speaking. Oh, he's calling out Tony. We appreciate Tony as well. So I'm going to do just a really brief update on Russia. And if you kind of want to know everything about what has happened with Trump and Russia, I have a great resource for you to go to. If you have heard of Bill Moyers, BillMoyers.com has a timeline on his website that goes back to 1970 to present of all the interactions between Trump when he was simply a businessman and what he was trying to achieve in Russia, and so how he incorporated different other business people, Russian business people within his business to get influence there to where we are today. And if I went through piece by piece, we'd be out here for quite a while, so I'm not going to do that, but I encourage you to go to BillMoyers.com. There's a lot of history that I didn't even realize that happened in the 70s, which really starts to tell a story and paint a picture of where we are today. So what I did want to update everyone on, if you do not know yet, is that the New York Times yesterday reported that a Russian so-called spam kingpin, how do you get that title, was arrested in Spain over the weekend where he was vacationing. And this person has a history of hacking and creating fake news that has benefited Putin in Russia prior. Following his arrest, his wife was quoted as saying that he was arrested because he led the DNC hacking that impacted the U.S. elections. What's interesting was he was arrested at the request of the FBI, our FBI. He is now in a Spanish prison awaiting extradition. The FBI Criminal Division has said no comment, so we don't know all the details behind this. And the FBI over the last week has also created a special unit to coordinate the Russia probe. So what we do know is the story continues to unfold. It continues to sound a bit like a spy novel, but there are enough facts that it's real, and that is really frightening. It doesn't smell right. What we cannot do is tire of bringing it up. We need to continue to let Trump know that we want to know, we want an independent investigation to understand Trump's ties to Russia. And so here's something specific you can do, and particularly for the folks who are going into the federal building today. Senator Cantwell still has not signed on, is a co-sponsor of Bill 27, which would create an independent commission to investigate Russian hacking in the 2016 election. So for those of you going inside, please talk with her staffers and ask her to sign this bill as a co-signer. We want our members of Congress to be signaling loud and clear that we are not backing down on demanding an independent investigation on Trump's ties to Russia. All right, so that's our Russia tidbit today. We are going to do a quick chant, and then we're going to turn it over to Steve Marquette. So you have these small pieces of paper. We're trying this new. I've had a few requests to have chants at the rallies, and so we're going to try this. It's called a Burma Shave chant, and I'm going to yell out what's on the left, and you're going to yell back what's on the right. We'll do it twice around so we get a feel for it, okay? Immigration. Refugees.
Yes, please.
Health care. When will Ryan? Civil rights. A woman's body. Has Trump paid tax? Russia investigation? Immigration. Refugees.
Yes, please.
Health care. When will Ryan? Civil rights? A woman's body? Has Trump paid tax? Russia investigation? Thank you. All right, so Steve Marquette is one of Seattle Indivisible's most active volunteers. We are really grateful for his support, and he's going to discuss something we really haven't touched on much at these rallies, which is Trump's business dealings in China.
There. I think I got it. Yep, I think that's good. Everybody hear me? Yep. And let me put in a shameless plug for the sign-in sheets, which I'm usually the guy who circulates them around. But if you haven't signed it, especially if you're a first-time rally goer, please sign in because this is the way we're going to be contacting you, especially after these Tuesday rallies end and we start to go into a more irregular schedule. So Tom promised to bore you about the Emolument clause, but I'm really going to bore you. I'm going to talk to you about particularly trademarks, and what could be more boring than trademarks? But in fact, it is, in my mind, the very clearest grounds for an impeachment of President Trump. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about. We can talk about how he's been conducting the presidency from his own properties every 2.8 days. He's someplace he owns and bringing his whole entourage there. We can talk about the hotel he co-owns in Azerbaijan with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. We can talk about how he owns stock in the missiles he's launched in Syria. But to my mind, no conflict of interest looms larger than China. And apologies to Putin, who I think probably wants to be number one. But no country loomed larger in Trump's campaign rhetoric than his hostility to China. But China presents these two huge cases in which Trump stands in violation of the Constitution. And Tom talked about the Emoluments Clause, so I don't have to explain it too much. I'm going to read it, though, just for the heck of it. Article 1, Section 9, no person holding any office of profit or trust under the United States shall, without the consent of Congress, except of any present, that's the money, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Now, Trump, the most valuable thing he owns, the most valuable part that has driven his business empire is his name. He basically sells his name. In 2006, realizing that, he filed for a trademark for his name for a Chinese development company in China. It just went into bureaucratic limbo there. It was stuck there until he won the presidency. Suddenly, they started to process it. He was awarded that trademark the week after he won. Now, during his campaign for the presidency, he filed for 38 more Chinese trademarks because he knew his name was going to be really valuable in China. putting his name on hotel brands, massage services, escort services. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable. China provisionally awarded him all 38 trademarks in an unprecedentedly rapid approval process. This happened in early February. It could not have happened without the active involvement of the top levels of Chinese leadership. In fact, it appears to violate Chinese trademark law. So the second case is a first business deal done by the Trump Organization after Inauguration Day. Angela Chen, who's a Chinese dual citizen, paid the Trump Organization $14.5 million for a penthouse suite in the Trump Park Avenue Hotel. Ms. Chen's ties to Chinese military intelligence and to the very top elites of the Chinese government are extensive, well-documented. Previous presidents have refused to have anything to do with her because of that very reason. She pays $14.5 million for a penthouse she does not appear to be using. It's a clear bribe, a clear gift, a clear emolument from Chinese military and government interests to the Trump Organization. So if you're thinking there's no problem here, because Trump put his assets and businesses in trust, you might have missed last week's story by the investigative journalist at ProPublica, who revealed that under the terms of the trust, quote, trust documents stipulate that the trust shall distribute net income or principal to Donald J. Trump at his request. There's no trust at all there. He draws money from his businesses just as he always has, and he uses it just as he always has wanted to. So these things, the trademarks, the $14.5 million condo sale, are clear, prima facie things of value under the meanings of the Emoluments Clause. They put him in plain violation of the Constitution. And the abrupt twists and turns of Trump's China policy show why the founders put this clause into the Constitution. If you've been following him, he's made all kinds of twists and turns in his policy, each one of which brings him a step closer to being in agreement and in harmony with Chinese interests. He started out, remember, blasting China as a trade cheater, a currency manipulator. Then he flirted just after taking office with the two China policy, which was outrageous to the Chinese. Since then, he's moved to accepting the one China policy. He had his week-long, or his 3-day-long cuddle with Premier Xi at Mar-a-Lago. He has stopped talking about filing charges against China for currency manipulation. And so all of this, is it because he thinks it's good policy for the United States? No, it's because he thinks it's good policy for the Trump Organization and it will make him a ton of money. There's only, as Tom has already said, there's only one solution for this question, and that's impeachment under the Emoluments Clause. So I'm not going to repeat what Tom said about it and all the routes to impeachment, but if this Congress won't do it, we've got to find one that will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve. So we're kind of have this theme running through today, right? Of what Trump is doing that is unethical and to his benefit. And we would know a lot more of the facts behind it if we saw his taxes. So I love this sign over here. It says, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Tax returns, that is. So all presidents since Gerald Ford, so this is since 1974, have volunteered to make public their tax returns, except for one. Who's that? Trump. Only Donald Trump. Here's a quote. I hate reading his quotes because it makes anyone sound uneducated, but here's a quote from Trump during the Republican primary debate in February of last year. This is his quote. Let me just tell you something. I want to release my tax returns, but I can't release it while I'm under an audit. We're under a routine audit. I've had it for years. I get audited. And obviously, if I'm being audited, I'm not going to really release a turn. As soon as the audit is done, I love it. I didn't even really understand that ending, but that's his quote. So here's a way around the audit, right? Tax day is next week. It's next Tuesday. It's the 18th. He can actually disclose his new return to the American people at the same time that he files it. It's no problem. He can do that before the IRS starts an audit. So Philip Hackney, who's widely quoted on this tax issue, he's a former IRS lawyer and he now teaches tax law. He's quoted as saying, "I've never seen a situation where we have someone with the conflicts of interest that Trump has. We need to see his taxes." So we're going to stay focused on continuing to demand his taxes, and we all have an opportunity to do that. Actually, right here, this Saturday at 10 a.m. is the tax march. There are over 100 tax marches across our country this Saturday, and there's actually 4 overseas as well, specifically about Trump releasing his taxes. So here are the details. The rally starts at 10 here. There'll be a march then that starts at 11. It'll actually take you down to the Seattle Center, and it'll end at 1. And then you can head over to Westlake, where they'll have lots of food trucks to support the Black Lives Matter rally and march, which starts at 2 p.m. So you guys have a really busy Saturday ahead of you. We all do. That rally will end, the march will end at the federal courthouse. And the Black Lives Matter march will also have a tax theme to it, specifically that we're in a tax system that does not value people of color and lets the most wealthy, like Trump, pay the least, or not at all. So we'll be posting on the Seattle Indivisible's Facebook page, if you have not seen it before, a list of the top ways that if you're white, to be a white ally at a Black Lives Matter march. So that'll be up this afternoon. So with that, we are going to go to announcements, and then we'll have some music. Bryce will send us out with some music. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, and I think Leslie and Michelle, if you're here, you can come up as well. So Monday, April 17th, so next Monday at 7 p.m., the North Seattle Indivisible group, they're having a meeting at Shoreline Community Center. And this is led by North Seattle Indivisible, but Seattle Indivisible and the East Side are involved as well. And Seattle Indivisible will have a similar event in May, but we encourage you to go to this one in April at Shoreline Community Center. They'll have speakers on different critical issues like immigrant rights and investigating Trump's ties to Russia, defeating Dave Reichert. And then, yeah, we all want that. And then what is really great is there'll be an activist fair. So if you're coming to these rallies every Tuesday and you're still trying to figure out how else you can get involved and how else you can feel you can make a difference in resisting the Trump agenda, there'll be a fair here to give you different ways so you can research what will work best for you. And then again, we'll be repeating something similar in the month of May. So let's have some other announcements. So Leslie Brown was going to come up and, yeah, come on up.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I'm from the Edmonds Neighborhood Action Coalition. Closer to the, can you believe somebody asked me to go closer to the mic? Leslie, Edmonds Neighborhood Action Coalition. Hi everyone, glad to be here today. Can I just have a show of hands of how many people know about and support Head Start? Like everybody, okay? Head Start and early Head Start and programs supported by Head Start funding support our children's early learning, particularly low-income families, so that they can have an equal chance with all these rich kids when they go to K through 12. There is no downside to these programs, okay? And yet our illustrious president wants these programs cut by 31%. Unacceptable. He also wants to cut by 31% funding to USAID, which supports maternal, newborn, and child survival around the world, which has effectively cut those deaths by over 50% in the last 25 years. One of the leading organizations for this is Save the Children, and I represent today the Save the Children Action Network for our week of action in the Washington area. Tonight in Edmonds, we're going to have a special event called Protecting the Head Start Program, and we're going to show a documentary, PBS documentary, that's called The Class of 27, and it's about how Head Start programs impact poverty in rural America. And then we're going to have a little Q&A and a panel. So if anybody would like a really engaging evening tonight, please come at 6 o'clock to the United Methodist Church in Edmonds. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you. And then we also have Michelle, who, come on up. Yeah. She's from North Seattle Indivisible.
Yeah. Hi, y'all. It's on Monday, on the 17th at 7 o'clock, Shoreline Center. We are having a town meeting in lieu of the senators coming to us for a town hall. Our keynote speaker, or we will have several guest speakers, but one of them is Shama Sawant. She is going to speak exclusively on single-payer health care, which I was told here that the senators are going to say they're in favor of using it as a bargaining chip, not seriously considering it. This event will tell you all about the options that you have. Not only on that, we have speakers on DACA and immigration, many speakers, many tables on many different initiatives. It's all about education. It's all about activism. If any of you can put these signs out around the area, please take some and get them out. I'm looking for publicity for our event. So please take a sign, 2, 3, 20, if you have places to put them out. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Maury Lewis from Indivisible Bainbridge Island, and I'm proud to say my daughter, who lives here in Seattle, and her colleagues have put together a tool for activism called plugthephones.org. Plug the Phones. And anybody can go there, go to the website, and on April 15th, obviously tax day, and if you push a button, you will be automatically connected to one of Trump's businesses anywhere around the world, and you will get a live person, you know, like the receptionist at a hotel, and you say to that person, we want to see Trump's taxes. And this is the second time they have done it. I can't remember the day before, but you can do it on your phone. You don't have to go anywhere, anytime. It's just 24 hours on April 15th. Plug the phones. I did it twice, and I got connected with his hotel in Hawaii, and I started to tell her that I wanted to remind her that he lost by the popular vote, but I only got halfway through because she said, I know he doesn't have anything to do with us, please don't call anymore. And then I called Mar-a-Lago, and the same thing. A receptionist answered the phone, and she obviously had gotten a lot of calls. So it's plugthephone.org. You can do it anytime, 24 hours, April 15th. Thank you.
Yeah. This really isn't an announcement, it's an acknowledgement. I think we all need to thank Rachel for helping to organize this.
She's so fun. So let's talk about next week. So we have something a little different next week. I mentioned we are joining our friends at Veterans for Peace for a Tax Day action. So that will be here. The timing is a little bit different. So it's 11:30 to 1:30. If you can come the whole time, great. If you can come a portion of the time and still want to go in and meet with the senator staff, they'll still be there, so you can keep to your regular schedule if you prefer. There will be music, there will be speakers, and there'll be leafletting, so everybody can help with that to let citizens know who are going by during their lunch hour how our tax dollars are allocated, and specifically when it comes to the military and supporting war. So join us for that. And then Tuesday, April 25th, will be our big send-off to the regular rallies, and then we will have a plan for what we do next. But there'll be more music than usual, speakers, and so definitely try and make it down here for April 25th to really celebrate the fact that you've been out here resisting for the first 100 days of the Trump administration. All right, before we turn it over to Bryce, are we engaged?
Yes.
Will we persist?
Yes.
Do we have hope?
Yes.
Are we in it for the long run?
Yes.
And are we doing it for our country? Yes. All right, Bryce.
Yes.
Just so you guys know, the main reason this case is out is actually so you can just look at my name, because if you look up Bryce McAvoy, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and all sorts of stuff. So if you guys take a video or something and you'd like to share it, I'd love to see it from you guys.
Me and all my friends, we're all misunderstood. They say we stand for nothing and there's no way we ever could. Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. But we act like we don't have the means to rise above and feed it. That's why we're waiting. Waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting. Waiting on the world to change. It's hard to be persistent when you're standing at a distance. So we keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. Now if we had the power to bring our neighbors home from war, we would have never missed a Christmas. No more ribbons on the door. When you trust your television, what you get is what you got. Cause when you own the information, oh, you can ban it all you want. That's why we're waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. It's not that we don't care, we just know that the fight ain't fair. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change, yeah. While we're waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. One day the generation is gonna rule the population. That's why we're waiting, waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change.
Yeah.
And I was planning on doing just two, but I feel like this song just has to be played at this event, so here we go. I can remember how it goes.
Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. It can't hear the sound of hysteria. The subliminal mind America. Welcome to a new kind of tension all across the alien nation. Everything is meant to be okay. Television dreams of tomorrow. We're not the ones to miss the ball. Boy, that's enough to work out. Well, maybe I'm in America. I'm not a part of your redneck agenda. Now everybody do the propaganda. Let's sing along to the age of paranoia. Welcome to a new kind of tension all across alien nation. Everything is meant to be okay. Television dreams of tomorrow. We're not hidden under the new media. You can hear the sound of hysteria going out to idiot America. Welcome to a new kind of tension all across alien nation. Everything is meant to be okay. Television dreams of tomorrow. We're not the ones who meant to follow. Boy, that's enough to work out. Hey!
Thank you so much, you guys. I'm not dressed for this weather. I was like 2 hours ago, so I'm gonna get out of here and warm up. Thank you guys so much. Fight the power. Take care, you guys. Rock on.
Thank you. I think we should end every rally with a little bit of Green Day. That's awesome. So we're wrapping up. Just want to thank Steve, as always, and Bob for the support. And Alex, who's always getting us on live or here in participation, and then Nathan, wherever he is, who helps make all the signs. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Woo!